Welcome to Games from Folktales, a podcast that mixes historical research and tabletop role-playing settings. I'm your host, Timothy Ferguson, clawing his way back from the underworld. I need to do an equipment test, so how about a brief episode? Extinct familiars. We've dealt with extinct familiars before in the fanzines by taking folklore and looking at its link to fossils. I did it so badly that one of the other Rise Magic authors published a refutation in one of the fanzines, but that's all right. The idea here is a bit different. It's something that I've been thinking about and haven't quite managed to nail down, which is why it's suitable for a brief episode like this. There are several species which are living in mythic Europe that have since gone extinct. You can use these to add colour to your game without changing its power level. Many of these creatures are slight variations on animals which have already been statted out in the core books. The Pyrenean ibex is similar to the ibexes which currently live in Switzerland, but they're larger and they're found on the border of modern Spain. They've gone extinct twice. After the death of the final great ibex, a clone was produced from cell samples, but it died after 7 minutes. Similarly, the aurochs, which is the ancestral species of the domestic cow, still exists in 1220. It's like a bull, but huge, so you just need to add size and toughness. Conversely, the tarpan horse is still found in Eastern Europe during the game period, and it's a small, shy, swift horse. We'd call it a pony now because it's only 4 feet high at the shoulder. It has all kinds of folklore wrapped around it, so much so that people forgot what colour it really was. They say it's grey, really, it was a sort of brown. An Atlas bear is a svelte, rather more aggressive version of the European bear. Let's look at some weirder options. Do you want to play a cute mouse the size of a guinea pig? Pikas are still found in the modern world in South America. I presume it's where a Pikachu gets its name from. Until the Renaissance, there were these two weird stranded species surviving on the islands of Corsica and Sardinia. Corsica is important to the history of House Veditus, so I like having these little things running around sitting on the shoulders of Veditus Magi. A pika can be statted as a large rat. The great auk was this huge penguin-like bird that was found on the coasts of the icy sea from Norway across Britain and to Iceland. They are not penguins. They're an example of convergent evolution. Penguins, which were discovered when Europeans arrived in the southern hemisphere, were named after the great auk, which is why the genus Penguinus is currently empty, because there was only one living species and it's gone. None of the modern penguins are in it. I think they're a cool variant for people who would usually play a dolphin or a seal as a heartbeast or a familiar. An auk can hold its breath underwater for 15 minutes. It can dive half a mile. Time for my third and weirdest choice. But first, let me do some special pleading. It was noted a few years ago, on this podcast amongst other places, that a sulphur-crested cockatoo drawn from life can be found in the marginalia of a book from the court of Frederick II, Holy Roman Emperor. These cockatoos are native to my part of Australia. Presumably it worked its way through the sea cucumber trade routes, up the pilgrimage routes, and then across to Europe. It may have helped that if you buy a sulphur-crested cockatoo, you are actually buying a pet for your grandchildren because they live 100 years or so in captivity. Also, they mimic humans like parrots, which makes them valuable. Stuff can get into Europe in all sorts of weird ways, and having said that, let me introduce Megalodypus. A Megalodypus is a sort of giant lemur from Madagascar. You know King Julian from the Madagascar movies? Imagine that, but 1.5 meters tall. For a lemur, they have a weirdly shaped face. It isn't flat like other primates. To me, it looks more like a fox or a dog. They were foliage eaters, but I just use bear stats for them because why not? They have big fingers and big claws. Some people call them koala lemurs, so I roleplayed them as koalas, which is to say they're lazy and vaguely drugged out pretty much all the time. Also, I like them because they have hands, but they don't look like a conventional ape, like the chimps that you occasionally see as character familiars. There will be another episode this week. Your saga may vary.